Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, I called my man Dan. He said, I have a different way of measuring stiffness of polys. I was like, oh, show me. Stay tuned. All right, coffee sponsor of today is Andy, A-N-D-I. Andy writes, do you have a favorite multi-filament and synthetic string? Which one typically lasts longer? That's a good question. My go-to synthetics, on the playability side, Gamma Professional. On the crisp, predictable side, Head Velocity. On the spin side, Gamma React. On the durability side, any kind of synthetic that's 15 light, like a Syngut 15 light of some sort. Anything, those will last you the longest. The thicker you go, the more monofilament you go, the longer they'll last. Or even that cheap stuff that's just called nylon, that Prince nylon from back in the day, that'll last you a good amount of time. All right. If you want to be my coffee sponsor of the day, network is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. You want to support the channel? Super thanks is the way. Link is below. You can contribute and hook us up with as much or as little as you'd like. Thank you guys so much for hooking it up and keeping my caffeine habit going. Major Dixon today. Not my favorite. Got my man Dan here, and Dan was saying that I have a different way of measuring the stiffness of the string. And I was like, do tell, Dan. And it's kind of a little different than how people analyze a string, but it's more a simpler way that you and I can do it too. So Dan, what did you discover?
So in using the Tennessee University database, there were some strings that it didn't have. I found this Luxilon Eco Power. I spotted this in a store, and I figured I'd pick up a pack because I thought it was interesting because it's made out of recycled water bottles and banners. And I thought, well, let's maybe we can at least save a little part of the planet with some recycled string. What does it play like? But more importantly, I was curious, like, how stiff is this string? How does it compare to other strings? And Harry thought it might be like a Hyper G. But I usually use the Tennis Warehouse University database to look at string stiffness, and this wasn't listed. So I'd been playing around previously with maybe try to find a way to measure string stiffness. And what I came up with, which is sort of interesting, is I took a piece of string and I twisted it around a pencil. Just, at first I was kind of bending string like this to see, does it feel stiff? And it didn't tell me a whole lot. So I thought, well, what would happen if I just took a pencil and wound it really tight, like 7 times? So I hold it really tight and I wind it very tight like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll go one more. 8. So this is Solinco Confidential. Bang. This tells me a little bit about how stiff the string is, and I can look on the database and look up its number, and it's kind of maybe around 220 or so in the database. So I took a bunch of different strings and kind of tried this test, and this Eco Power turned out to be one of the softest strings in all these different strings I tried. And how did it compare to the Hyper G? Hyper G is, out of the package, was way stiffer. So then I said, well, let's see how they play. How are they different? So I took Head Boom, strung with the Eco Power, and played with that, and I measured the tension off the machine, and then I measured the tension after 1 session and after 2 sessions to look at what kind of tension loss I was getting. And I had about 2 pounds of tension loss after the first session, and maybe another couple pounds after that, and then it stabilized. So really good tension maintenance, wonderful feel of this string. The whole racket feels like a sweet spot. Really love this string a lot. Then I took the same racket, same grip, everything, strung it with Hyper G, which according to the Tennis University is pretty soft. But of all these strings I tried, it's actually very, very stiff. So I put that in the racket. I played with it once. I played with it twice. It was really stiff at the beginning. It felt like I was hitting with a hollow 2x4. So after a couple sessions, it actually got better. So then I was curious, being the mad scientist that I am, how does the string test compare on a new string out of the package versus a couple of hitting sessions once it started to feel better? So this is the same string after being played with versus brand new. And look at this. Wow. It's softened up.
So Coach Dan, what are we looking for? Like, what's the twisting mean, and what is it telling us?
It's telling me how stiff is this string going to feel on my racket. Okay, does it feel like a wood board, or does it feel like a nice soft plush, down pillow? Now you can get too soft on a string, I'll admit, but this is the same string after it's softened up. So what is this also telling us about tension maintenance? So I think this string, as it got this soft from this soft, probably lost a lot of tension. I didn't measure it on the tension loss. I don't think it was really that bad. So this tells you might not like a string for an hour, but give it a chance before you give it away.
So let's talk about the circles real quick. This wants to straighten up, it looks like.
Yeah.
And this is holding its circles.
Yeah.
Now, what does being in the circles mean versus straightening out?
So it means that this string wants to resist bending. Okay? So when you hit the ball and the ball deflects into the string, this string isn't going to flex very much. And again, I need to study the Tennis Warehouse database, because they also talk about string deflection and different measures. So I need to go back and look at this and see if this is more correlated with some other measure than stiffness, because I think stiffness, they're just looking at how much does it stretch.
Right.
This is talking more about string deflection, like this, and this is actually quite softer, even though it's the same string. So I'm still learning, still experimenting. This is Polytour Fire. This is your Fury C4.
Oh, C4, yes.
C4, pretty stiff, right? We didn't know how stiff it was because it wasn't in the database. So now we know it's kind of up in here. This is the Kirschbaum, what do they call that? The orange squash or orange?
Yes.
Super Smash.
I know. Super Smash, that's
Super
right.
Smash.
Where's my confidential?
Your confidential is
you came
right
up,
here.
You did it. Oh, right there.
Here. It's confidential. So it comes out kind of at the softer end of the scale. This was ALU Power, which is a real surprise to me because I thought that was a stiff string. It actually came out pretty soft on this scale here. This is Polytour Pro in blue. And this string surprised me. This is Dunlop Explosive Speed, which is actually rated as a stiffer string. It came out actually softer than I expected.
That's curious, because when I played with that string, I thought it was kind of medium.
It feels
medium to soft.
No, this is soft, medium soft, according to kind of this. This is Polytour Pro in yellow, which is about
should
the
be
same,
soft.
about the same. Now here's a really strange thing that I found. This is the Luxilon Smart String. And when I wrapped it around the pencil, I tried to do it as even as I could. Obviously, it was sort of twisting as I was wrapping it. And this has two different compounds in it, a black and a gray. I don't know if you can even see that, which gives it a dual stretch character according to how they designed it. They wanted it to be a string that if you hit it soft, it would be soft. And if you hit it hard, it would be hard. And so this is very interesting, because as I wrapped it around the pencil and pulled it off, this part, talk is about soft. And this was like much stiffer just because the string was twisting around. So I don't even know what this means, other than it was a string that confused me when I played with it. It's like I put it on a Clash, which is a soft racket with a dual soft string, and I don't know what was going on. But fascinating stuff. Just, you can do this at home. You got a string, you got two strings. How do they compare? And so I'll do some more experiments with this. But again, this Eco, I really love this Eco.
So with this test, we didn't really do a stiff string on here, right? So let's, like 4G is one of the stiffer strings on the market. let's try it with the 4G, and I want to see what the circles look like.
Yeah, let's do it.
Is that enough, or you need more?
I need a little more, but you'll have enough to string a full racket, don't worry. So the 4G is a stiffer string according to the database, and so we're just going to try the Dan stiffness test. Remember the Mohs scale of hardness when you were a kid in school, and they made you memorize an acronym so you can remember the 10 minerals from soft to hard. You come up with a sentence like, every good boy can do, so corundum, diamond, So we're going to come up with a Dan scale of hardness so we can remember these different strings.
I probably fell asleep in that one.
You didn't, that was like 7th grade, the Mohs scale of hardness. So, this string actually just feels pretty good going around.
No stiffness?
It feels silky and buttery. I'm going to guess this is way softer than the index would indicate. I'm going to guess. Wow.
It didn't straighten out.
It didn't straighten at all. Look at that bad boy. So this is on there. So when they measure it, putting a weight on it this way, it's not stretching. It's a very stiff string. But when you put this in your string bed, look at that. Ooh, that's kind of nice. But look, oh wait, that's weird. I wonder if these do that. They straighten and come back or not. They all straighten out. So that's a very, according to this scale, a very soft feel to it. So if it has good tension maintenance, and it feels nice, because this is supposed to be the best tension maintenance string, right? This is surprisingly good.
Could it be that because of the stiffness of the string, that it's holding those curves? Because it's stiff in a certain way that it holds the circles?
I think what happens is, and I guess we maybe need to define stiffness. So if you take 2 strings and you just bend them, right? Just bend 2 strings, right? Look at the difference. So this one will bend and stay. This one will bend and come back. So I'm saying this is stiffer than this, according to the characteristic of resisting bending. So when the tennis ball hits the string, how much is that string not flexing? And I think this is a stiffer string than this by a lot.
Okay.
We could take 10 strings and just bend them all across my finger, and they would all come at a different point. So this one bent, 30 degrees, and this one bent 50 degrees.
So we're looking at it from a different perspective.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a different way of measuring it. And so what I've really found intriguing is, what did this feel like in a racket, and what did this feel like in a racket? And this one felt hollow and dead, at least until it broke in. And this felt plush and nice and smooth, and it also held tension nicely. But I just enjoyed it, how it felt and how it played. So this is just something you can play with. The next time you get your racket strung, have them give you a little piece when they're done. So Harry, when you string rackets, you're going to have to put this here as if someone wants a sample, right? And then they can do this at home as you experience different things that you try and play with. What do you like? And so this is a good way to kind of remember, what string did I play with? What did it feel like? And how does it, how does it twist up?
Got it.
There you go.
So according to Tennis Warehouse University, 4G, which is what we just cut up, comes up pretty stiff on the stiffer side.
That's one of the stiffest strings in the database.
Torbite 2. So these two are on the stiffer side. The medium stiffness is like an ALU and a confidential. And then on the softer side, we can either go like a Hyper G soft, or if you took a Torbite and thinned out the gauge, like 18 gauge, 19 gauge, as it gets thinner, it gets softer.
Right.
So just because 16 or 15 light of this is stiff doesn't mean that the thinner one will be. Okay, so...
And the thing to remember, when you go to a thinner gauge, it's not going to have as much tension maintenance as the thicker gauge in general. So
correct.
Something to keep in mind.
Okay, so this is a different way of looking at strings. We've learned that stiff isn't really stiff in a way.
Depends how you measure it.
Coach Dan, or my man Dan, thank you for showing us the way in stiffness today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me again. Always,
right.
always fun.
Guys,
Thanks.
Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Oh!
Great job, Aaron.
I got you, Rob, buddy. Look, I got you, Rob. Oh, hey. I got you, Rob. I got you, Rob. Thank you for the weekly lesson, dude.
Aaron, back toe. Again.
Oh, I got you, Rob. I got you, Rob. I got you, Rob. Now, if you want a patient pro, just like Coach Rob, hey, Player Court is the place. Your pro can come to you, right? They can come out to your site. All you need to do is go to playercourt.com. You can even get a discount there. playercourt.com/tennis spin.
Harry, are you sure you're right-handed?